This is the basics of the Great Depression. Where did all of the money go? So, we're going to start with an inquiry. In the 1920s, American people and businesses had more money than before. In the 1930s, however, millions of Americans and businesses had no money at all. Where did all the money go? By this simple question, I'm asking you to ponder where did the actual physical dollar bills go in terms of their location? How could Americans have physical money in the 1920s but not have it in the 1930s? Where was the location of the money? Just think about that. So let's take a look at a functioning economy to start to approach the answer of what actually happened during the Great Depression. This is a very oversimplified economy, but it gets the concept of an economy down. So in this economy, we just have three sectors. We have a food sector. They produce food for the other two sectors, and they sell the food to the other two sectors. Then we have the energy company, and they produce the energy that allows the food, let's say the food trucks and the food businesses to operate. And they also sell that energy to the services industry. And let's say the services industry fixes the trucks of the food company and fixes the buildings or the infrastructure of the energy company. So you have a very functioning economy. No matter which industry you're in, you can buy and sell what you need from the other two industries. So what makes the cycle work? Well, it's money. If you're an apple farmer, if you're in the food industry, you can't efficiently barter your apples for maintenance on your tractor from the services industry. The mechanic probably can't use 5,000 apples right now. The apples would go bad before he could eat them. Money allows the apple farmer to efficiently trade his work for the mechanic's work. The apple farmer can sell thousands of apples in small quantities, then take that money and give it all at once in exchange for the maintenance. Without money, the farmer has the apples and the mechanic has the parts and labor to fix the tractor, but the two can't trade one for the other. And this is the tragedy of the Great Depression and something that cavemen would have a really hard time understanding. There's no lack of food, and there's also no lack of people willing to work for that food, yet people starved to death because people didn't have green pieces of paper. So the poker game ruins everything. So we're back to the same economy I showed you before, and I want you to think about the leaders of the food, energy, and services companies decide to bet all of their money in a poker game. Assuming someone wins and someone loses, why does this crash the whole economy? So, in other words, let's say the energy and services and food industry titans, the leaders of those industry, they decide to bet all of the energy guy bets all of his money on the poker table in the middle, and the services guy does the same, and the food guy does the same, and then let's just say the food guy wins. Why would this crash the entire economy? Just think about that for a second from what we know now about how efficient money is. So let's think about the poker game of the 1920s. In the 1920s, lots of people took large sums of their money and their company's money and bought stocks from a small number of people. So the money is now physically in the hands of those who sold the stock, and the buyers of the stock are holding literally pieces of paper that entitle them to a share of the company's profits that they bought stock in. This is a gamble. Over time, the shares might entitle the shareholder, the guy who bought the stock, to millions of times the money that they spent. So you might get super wealthy. Or the company you bought shares in could go broke. They make no profit. If they make no profit, you don't get anything. And then, of course, your shares would be worth nothing. So it's a gamble. The companies selling stock were bad, of course, in the end of the 1920s and couldn't make a profit. The shares of that company were, in fact, worthless. So, where did the money go? In the Great Depression, the money went into the vaults of people who sold stocks. In the Great Depression, regular people's money went to a few people who got extremely, extremely rich. It's important to know that there were a record number of millionaires created during the Great Depression. There was a great divide between rich and poor. So, next thing I would like you to think about is why did regular people get hurt in the Great Depression if they didn't buy any stock? Most Americans didn't gamble in the stock market in the 20s, so why did they go broke too? Well, this is the negative spiral. If your boss invested all of his money in another company and that company collapses, your boss can't afford to pay you. He lost all his money. So you go broke. And then when you go broke, you can't afford to buy goods and services from other industries. Those other industries can't afford to pay their workers. They go broke as well. And then finally, how does a Great Depression end? When money is recirculated into the economy, here are two ways that can happen. Number one, as people stop buying products, prices of goods and businesses themselves fall. There are less dollars chasing the products, so the price of the products goes down. Allured by cheaper prices, the people who got rich can buy those businesses and products and transfer money from their vaults back into the economy. That's one way. The other way is that the government can either borrow money or tax the rich and give the money to those in need. People will demand more goods and services with the new dollars that they have. People with money will make businesses and hire people to meet this demand.